Welcome to episode 2 of the ThorneVet podcast with me, Alex Pearson, and Dr. Keith Weingart. We're excited to have you here for the second. Hopefully you listen to the first. If you didn't, go back and watch it. It'll give you a quick introduction, who we are and what we're doing and why we're doing it. Today's podcast is going to be a pretty basic one. Foundational health. Where do we start and why do we use supplements? Sometimes Keith and I might take for granted that people who call us already know. People that are already using our products might have some education about joint health, heart health, overall health. But a lot of people don't understand supplements, don't understand why we use them. What are the benefits? Where do we begin? And Keith and I are both pet parents. My dog probably eats better than I do most days. He certainly takes more supplements than I do. So I do practice what I preach. But a lot of animal health can be derived from human health. A lot of what you do every morning, think about your morning routine. Do you get up? Do you work out? Do you drink a cup of coffee? Do you take your supplements? Do you have a protein shake, creatine? You could go down the list of a million things we do as humans to try to better ourselves. And that's what we want to talk about with our furry friends. So today I'm going to have Keith touch on where do we begin? How do we start? We have certain products that we consider essentials, a good building block to start with. Before we get into that, though, I'm going to let Keith kind of touch on what an ideal day would be for someone that woke up, first time they ever heard about supplements and nutrition. What would you tell them, doctor?
All right. Well, Alex, thank you again. One of the things I want to start with maybe is even a little bit before that, because I think it's important for us to emphasize that you cannot supplement your way to health. You can't. The most important foundation of health is the food that you eat. I tell my clients all the time that is the most important medicine you put in their body on a daily basis. So if you have a really poor diet, all the supplements in the world are not going to make you healthy. It may help a little bit, but they're not going to make you healthy. So you need to, especially for our veterinary patients, our animal patients, our pets, the most fresh, whole, real food that you can put in their body on a daily basis is the foundation of their health. I have had so many patients that have come to me chronically ill. The first thing I do, change their diet for something healthy, and the marked difference that you can have just in making those changes. So start with that. Simple, easy to do, makes the most sense. Start there. The other thing that's really important, the mental health of our pets is a very fragile thing. And I think many of our pets are not getting the outlet for their energy and for the connection with their community, with their friends, with their parents that they need. So getting them out, exercising them. Exercise. I always say a tired dog is a good dog. I always say, get their yayas out. Those are the most important things. Optimal nutrition and a good outlet for their energy can set your dog up or cat up for the most healthy future in their lifetimes, right? So looking at that, so if we start with the ideal diet, okay, I'll give you an example. My own dog, Otis, okay, I've known him since he was 2 days old. I helped raise his litter, and I weaned him off of mom's milk onto raw goat milk and a fresh raw food diet. Okay, the dog has never eaten a processed pet food in his lifetime, and he thrives. So that's like a really solid foundation. But even Otis has challenges. So once we have laid down that really optimal nutrition, and if you have struggles with that, that's certainly something you can talk to your veterinarian about, or seek out an integrative veterinarian who may have a lot more experience with using fresh, whole, real foods and helping support your pets. And if we have that solid foundation laid down, then the next step is to try and understand where our pets may have challenges, excesses, deficiencies, those types of things. Now, a perfect example is my dog Otis. He's a really healthy, vibrant cattle dog mutt. And as a cattle dog mutt, he has got a lot of energy. And we try to give him a really good outlet for that energy. But if he doesn't, even with a good outlet of his energy, he can sometimes be pretty amped up. So what I utilize for him are Peaceful Pet. Okay, it brings his energy down, grounds him, makes him happier, and a much happier dog on this earth. So something like that, where we have a very vital, healthy young dog, he still may need some support. Okay, so Alex also mentioned our essentials. Okay, so when we look at if we've provided our pets with a really good diet, we have good exercise, they're getting a good relationship, you're getting some training, a good relationship, good bond with their people. And then we're saying, okay, what's the problem? Where are we having challenges? Even with an ideal diet, there are going to potentially be gaps and deficiencies in the foods that they're eating. Because of our agricultural practices, there's a nutrient depletion in the soil. There's a potential with the processing of pet foods that we can have toxins and carcinogens elaborated in the pet food. So it's really important that we have something like, for example, our canine and feline basic nutrients. Those are going to provide lots of vitamins and minerals in a really bioavailable form to help fill in any gaps or deficiencies they may have in the foods that they're eating. Okay. Similarly, we can also have a pet who's eating a really good diet, but they're always struggling with some sort of gastrointestinal challenge. Well, we have options there. One of our vet essentials is the first supplement I ever prescribed, our gut health formula. Works really well to create a healthy bowel environment, because with optimal nutrition and a healthy gut, so many of the problems that we see in our pets get better. Many chronic diseases are rooted in an unhealthy bowel environment. So if we can utilize our probiotic support formula or our gut health formula, rotate those types of things, we can put a good foundation of our gut health, which goes a long way to helping our immune system be healthier, helps our mental health, and it obviously can also help our gut. Okay, so the other things we look at are other supports that we can do that are, even if we're on a good diet, we may need additional omega fatty acids. So for example, many diets are going to be higher in omega-6 fatty acids. In order to have a healthy balance of fatty acids in the body, we need to supplement with more omega-3 fatty acids, because omega-6s tend to produce more inflammation. So if we add additional omega-3s, we're bringing into a more healthy balance of inflammation in the body. And so many chronic diseases are rooted in dysregulated inflammation. So if we can utilize something like our Super EPA vet, in addition with a healthy whole food diet, that can go a long way to making things better too. Okay, so the point is that many animals can benefit from supplementation, but the key is to not throw everything at them. It's to find what that particular piece of the puzzle they need supported. So for example, my dog Otis, he's a vibrant, healthy dog, does great, but Peaceful Pet makes him happier. Okay, we may have our cats who are eating a good, fresh, whole food diet. They need additional omega-3 fatty acids, so we give those to them. So my point is like tailoring the therapy to the individual is truly how we're going to have the best optimal health for our patients. So I guess the starting point is diet, exercise, lifestyle, and a good relationship with your pets, and then work with what you're seeing. Do they need anything additional? Would they benefit from a multivitamin? Does their digestive tract need support? Maybe they would benefit from some omega-3 fatty acids. So we can then tailor that to what that pet is asking for. I hope that answers the question.
Sure.
Really,
I mean, if you think about it as well, if you walk in with a 9-year-old dog and a 3-year-old dog, it's going to be a much different story. And it also, you could say about certain breeds, right, Keith? I mean, certain breeds are different than others. We have a client and a breeder out in the East Coast with, they do Cavaliers, and they develop heart problems very early. And she gives every single person that buys one of those Cavalier dogs a bottle of our heart health formula. So, you know, every situation is different. And I think Keith answered the question perfectly. Supplementation, the basis of the foundation, you need to start somewhere, especially the gut. And when you get the foundation, you can start figuring out, okay, this dog is cognitively declining, or this dog is having issues with allergies. And you can start pinpointing the things that you can acutely go after and treat. And
I think
again,
it's a great point, Alex. Is the best success you're going to have is when you are specifically asking the pet, what you're specifically addressing the problem that they're having. If we just throw like a big blanket of supplements over the animal, I think what happens is their body can't decipher what you're trying to tell them. So for clearly supporting the problem that's out of balance, there's a much more positive effect than if you just kind of shotgun it and don't have a targeted approach.
Sure. And one of the exciting things that we're going to do in upcoming podcasts as well for all of you listening is digging into where we get those ingredients. Some of the products that Keith have come up with have wonderful stories behind them. But again, we all need to understand that health is optimal, not just for us, but for our best friends. And we've got to treat them like we would one of our kids if we have the opportunity to, and really help them live those lives. You know, I give my dog Peaceful Pet. Bless his little heart, when he gets in the car, and he'll jump in the car with us because he knows we're leaving if we're taking him, but he gets in the back of the car and shakes like a leaf. Just a leaf. He sits there, but we give him Peaceful Pet. We started doing it about 3 months ago. And he'll now sit in the back of the car and not shake like a leaf. He still doesn't like it much, but he certainly doesn't like the 4th of July either, and Peaceful Pet just helped there. So we will get into more and more of those as time goes on. We wanted to give all our listeners, and again, veterinarians alike, a foundation of where to start and why we supplement. You know, I think there's a lot of things in the veterinary world or the human world, conventional medicines. We're not saying they don't work, but there are a lot of things you can do to mitigate and help with those problems that you're having. You know, Mother Nature's been healing millions and millions of people for a long, long time. And, you know, that's the importance of finding ingredients, having them tested, and being a trusted company like we are. Anything else to add about that, Keith?
Yeah, I think you touched on it, and I think we're going to dig into this more because it's such an important topic. But ThorneVet is an NASC certified company. Okay, that's like the highest standard for animal supplements in this country is achieving that certification. So I think that's something really important to note because it's not easy to do, and you're held to a high standard, more so than even in the human supplement realm. So I think that's a really important point. The other thing I like to remind people is that approaching things with supplements doesn't mean you cannot use them in conjunction with medications. Sure. I think oftentimes we can actually have a reduction in the dosage and the frequency of pharmaceutical meds when they're used appropriately alongside targeted supplementation.
Very true.
So, yeah, and that's something, of course, we want to make sure our veterinarians on board. We are, because we're NASC certified, every caution and warning that could possibly come from an ingredient is going to be on our labels. So read them with care. If there's questions, that's what we're here for. I handle questions around using supplements with medications almost on a daily basis, right, Alex? So it's something that I think is really at the forefront of people's minds, as it should, but it shouldn't be a mutually exclusive type of thing. If you're using pharmaceuticals, doesn't mean you can't go this route. And
I think a lot of people actually find supplements because when pharmaceuticals are being used, they take a toll on your body.
Right.
There are a lot of stuff out there that, you know, I remember, you know, my grandfather was on prednisone at the end of his life and it wrecked him, and he got on multiple supplements to try to mitigate those side effects. So, you know, that's one of the things that Keith and I absolutely love doing is talking to the conventional veterinarians and try to bring them on board and have that awakening that Keith talked about in episode 1. So, you know, again, episode 2, canine basic nutrients, canine geriatrics, canine cognitive, all great multis.
Feline
cognitive
basics,
is a whole other
cat friends.
Yeah, and feline basics. I'm not forgetting. Yeah, feline basics, and then gut health and a probiotic and a super EPA and a fish oil. Very good basis. You got to start somewhere, and those are the simplest. So as we go on over the next few weeks, we are going to dig into a lot of the new products that Keith has come out with and ThorneVet has come out with, the kidney support, longevity, colostrum. Canine Cognitive is one of our best sellers that we came out with a couple years ago. But we're also going to focus on some of the stuff and the general things that all of you have heard about your entire lives. Immune support, gut health, joint support, heart health. We're going to get into all the basics as well. Longevity Complex, I just mentioned, one of Dr. Keith's formulas. was in the news today. Not necessarily the product, but news on longevity. And I'm going to read this so that you guys can hear how ahead of the curve ThorneVet is and how we are always thinking before things come out on the market. There's an anti-aging pill for dogs certified effective by FDA, but could work on humans too. It's an anti-aging pill that still needs to earn safety and manufacturing certification by the FDA, but they say it's close to being confirmed, or I guess you should say approved. Longevity Complex, Keith. He actually gave a webinar for veterinarians with Redstone Media Group. In fact, I have.
If you go on for this for our listening veterinarians, if you go to Animal Wellness Academy, there's 1 CE hour for RACE, continuing approved education credit for my presentation on longevity medicine. In that webinar, I present a whole variety of things, but especially digging into the science behind longevity medicine, supplements that can help. But I also dig into the pharmaceuticals that are being explored, and I introduced this drug. It's called Loyal. There's Loyal 001. There's different versions of it, but essentially the way the drug is operating, it was operating on the observation that smaller breed dogs like Chihuahuas and stuff like that tend to live longer than large breed dogs. And the reason being is that larger breed dogs have higher levels of an important hormone called insulin growth factor 1. And those higher IGF-1 levels may be correlated with a shorter lifespan. So what they did is utilize this medication to help bring those IGF-1 levels down closer to what smaller dogs' IGF-1 levels would be. So a really fascinating drug. I'm excited it's going to be hitting the market. I think it's going to be a game changer. So I think one of the other drugs they're looking at is actually how you can use some of the similar science, but in actually extending the lifespan of smaller breed dogs too. So it's going to be a really cool time in veterinary medicine. And I think there's going to be more and more of this stuff is coming down the line. Really exciting. And the one of the premises on how these drugs work is kind of how we designed the longevity complex, is we dug into the science behind the gene pathways and how targeted supplements, especially polyphenols, can actually influence how those longevity pathways are activated in the body. So really, again, a really great supplement to rotate into all our animals as they're aging, but especially as our pets are getting older, get it on board sooner rather than later, because it can be a really good preventative for a lot of.
Oh yeah, and not just preventative. This article that I was reading today, they said it could extend a dog's lifespan by 3 years. Now, see, I don't know where they come up with that number, but I can tell you one thing. Keith was on this a year ago. We saw and Keith, I don't know if you could speak to this. Could you have created this product 5 years ago? Or is this something that with
the crux of the research has been over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So but the longevity pathways, the KEGG pathways they're getting to the point where they're actually able to have an understanding of what a specific gene, when that gets activated, what the physiologic consequences in the body. So when you understand the science to that level, you can really have an understanding of how drugs and supplements, herbs, compounds, polyphenols can interact with those pathways, and then the downstream effects are overall healthier health span.
And anybody listening to this, you can see why Keith Weingart is on ThorneVet's team. The longevity complex product information sheet we have is 2 versions, a long version and a short version. I have read the short version. It is such an amazing and interesting, scientific technology of what Keith is speaking on. For veterinarians listening to us, please, anytime you want to speak with him, we can set it up. For customers, a lot of this can go over your head. We understand that, but reach out and we will send you the product information sheet and give you bullet points on 4 or 5 things that you can wrap your head around and really understand. But the longevity complex is one of the most cutting edge products on the market. And when I saw the article today, I wanted to bring it up with Keith so we could speak on it, because it gives you an idea of what we are always doing, looking towards the future and horizons to see what is going to benefit animal health in the future and always looking to see what we can do next. Again, follow us on Facebook, go to Instagram, follow us there, check us out on YouTube, shoot us any questions you have. Cause like I said, I'd like to do, or like we said, I should say, I'd like to do a question and answer maybe once a month where we can do, 10 questions and answers. And most likely the questions that we get will probably be questions that a lot of you have asked yourselves over the past few years of having owned dogs or cats. So we appreciate you listening. We absolutely love our customers and our loyalty. We love getting emails with how the products are helping, what we can do to help. So please, again, follow us, keep watching, ask questions, and we'll be back soon. Dr. Keith, anything else?
No, I think, again, thanks so much for listening. We look forward to exploring all these different opportunities, looking at formulas, looking at ingredients, answering questions, and just want to remember, pets are the best.
Pets are the best.